Akagami no Shirayuki-hime is one of my favorite fantasy anime. When I first watched it, I was captured by the vibrancy of its gentle world, one that took slices of life from its characters and allowed them their own paths. It was Shirayuki striving forward, being strong against those who wished to oppress and romanticize her, and those who became her friends, growing a genuine bond beyond her birthright. And part of that experience was being able to hear that world and its intimate and emotional moments in Michiru Oshima's orchestration. Michiru Oshima at an early age learned the electron, earning a prize in an international competition, but became more interested in composing. Her music spans films, video games, and anime, with a variety of awards received for her work in film, but she also has a piece in a Grammy Award-winning album. One of the interesting things about how she's composed is where, as she's worked in Japan, Russia, the US, and lived in Paris, having taken music classes there. This leads to potential influences in her sound, and she's also commented on how she chooses locations deliberately, as depending on the worldview of the content, she would consider and select the country and the orchestra for the recording. She also states how her process is extremely imagistic. If she composes for a film, she'd watch it many times, and wants to match the image and music frame by frame. The idea of music comes to her almost immediately after seeing the visual content for the first time. There are very specific examples of this, like in Godzilla. She considered the nature of a giant monster walking around, and used heavy sounds to imitate Godzilla's grandeur and size. She was also extra careful to create music powerful enough to really complement the entirety of a giant monster, with loud roars and footsteps. She linked it to essentially fighting directly against Godzilla. It's a very immersive way of composing. It's to a point where she's even said that composing for animation can be difficult, especially if she's doing an action series like her work in FMA. But also, animated characters can't physically express their feelings as much as real actors, and thus it takes more effort on her end to convey that emotionality. And I think this method of being highly immersed and translating the images in her mind to the music, as if she wants her music to be a secondary storyteller, really comes across in the works she's done, even if those works take place in a different world. Some of the most memorable and atmospheric pieces of Akagami's OST are the ones in the moments of rest and reflection. The show opens up in such a way with Shirayuki's tranquil appearance. It's a slow opening, showing off the setting in bright colors alongside the shining sunlight. It's fitting that the piece begins with a wind instrument, mimicking nature, as if we were the wind following the forest as a violin fills the gaps, creating this sense of anticipation. Once we understand why she's here, and once she plucks the herbs, the piece transitions with this flurry of notes, as if punctuating her actions. Her hand moves to the left, but the answer is the drab ones to the right. It's as if the music is amused by the visual gag.
Found it!
This close storytelling from the music continues as she runs out and we're greeted with an overview shot of her hometown. The song comes alive with the orchestra as it swells with Shirayuki's emotions. She greets a new day, excited about an unrestrained future, mimicking the unrestrained nature of the orchestra. I definitely see this idea of a visual reading of the music that Oshima must have went through, following frame by frame exactly what notes should go where, exactly how the orchestra should fluctuate, exactly what the scene is. But to attribute just one scene to the song wouldn't be accurate. This track is used in multiple scenes, despite the show's composition not being as particular as film scoring due to Oshima's methods and how close she is in capturing a scene. Even if her tracks are used elsewhere, it still feels very deliberate. For example, In episode 4, this is once again Shirayuki's Tranquil appearance. We get the slow build-up as she walks through the garden, a naturalistic setting, befitting the flute, the violin. We get the same visual gag that's timed with the flurry of notes as Shirayuki is caught talking out loud. The rest of the track plays out as the orchestra comes alive.
Most effective? That's right, I've heard of that technique before. And you know when?
And while not as specific as episode 1, where we're given this powerful sense of freedom, it still is fitting. Her freedom starts here, as she is going to take on the court herbalist exam and pave the path forward for her dreams. Meeting such an important figure in that process is a big step, especially given this impression. This is a path forward for freedom, just not in an extravagant way, but the blooming orchestra is still fitting.
I hope I get the chance to learn about living medicine here.
What really sells the inclusion is when the song pauses, but this time we're given the other half.
Shirayuki!
Zen!
The second half is timed perfectly to Zen's appearance.
Think you're ready for it?
Kinda.
What do you mean, kind of?
The transition is incredibly seamless. It sounds almost like they played a new song. Her appearance isn't confined to Ryu, but it's her appearance here, in this moment, preparing for something major. The song really captures the totality of the scene. Even if the scenes are different, and as such the images, I think Oshima's composing of capturing so closely those images the first time begets her songs a level of flexibility in being able to match the themes and emotions across scenes. This song in particular perfectly matches those ideas of an appearance, of the story being told through an entry, through a little bit of levity, through an escalation of emotion, and in this scene in particular, also a soft goodbye. In thinking about Oshima's methodology, I couldn't help but revisit my favorite track with that framework, the beginning of Two Young People, a track that marries piano and violin in a way fitting for its title, and perhaps its first inclusion may have given Oshima just the right image for what to convey. This track plays during Shirayuki and Zen's first meeting, going over the introduction of the crew and the relationship they would eventually share.
No one lives in this house, but we spend time here.
The song starts with piano as Zen probes Shirayuki. It's a peaceful and gentle melody for the somber nature of the moment. What really sells the image of the scene is in how that melody is played in batches of chu. There are chu chords in every measure that make up the core of the song. There's the leading chord and a following chord as the bar is complete, and its motif is consistent. It goes in, then out. In, then out. Even as it progresses and adds complexity, that insistence really helps this duality and sense of conversation. One person talks, the other responds. One talks, the other responds. And that's exactly what this scene is as the characters bounce off each other. It's this gentle, carefree conversation. But the real beginning of Two People happens as Shirayuki and Zen take a walk. An entire dimension is added as we get this violin.
Why did you come with me?
I couldn't let you go into these woods all by your lonesome. That would be quite ungentlemanly.
And I think that makes the idea of Chu even more present. It's the violin and piano in conversation now. The melody and draw of that gentle conversation is now laced with playfulness, a tinge of grace and elegance. There's a bit more mischief, playful discretion, as we get to see the start of their dynamic and of their acquaintance. It's a beginning of Two People in every sense of the word. But I want to draw attention to the other places the song is used. If the images Oshima had in mind for its first inclusion is this meeting, of this back and forth dynamic explored through playfulness, through an earnest conversation and connection, then that emotive motive works elsewhere, like in episode 5. Shirayuki worked endlessly to help cure the settlement's issues, and Zen realizes that. The song plays just as he does.
We're already back up to 3 shifts per day.
Right.
And considering each one is every 8 hours.
I'm so blind.
While the conversation doesn't last as long, nor is it as loaded, I think the song still serves as that secondary storyteller. Like before, there's the sense that the song is reacting to the visuals, as Zen is counting down.
Eyes are closed.
As the camera shifts, to let us see both of them. The violins kick in.
3.
There's that duality of seeing them in the same shot. It's not just Shirayuki. This is a shared moment. Even if Shirayuki doesn't realize it, this is still a genuine connection being made. Zen's honest concern and willingness to reciprocate Shirayuki's effort. The scene isn't complete until the end of the episode, where they are able to complete that conversation when we see that the prior moment really was just the beginning. The scene in its entirety is still about that kind of back and forth, even if it has to take a whole other scene to really see that reciprocation be completed. I mean, after all, like the song's namesake, it plays at the beginning of something special. If I don't stop myself from gushing about my favorite track, I really will yap about it all day, so in favor of talking about more music, I'll do a lightning round. The most obvious way to really see how Oshima's methodology works is in the most obviously named tracks. Mihaya is aptly a mysterious and ominous track. It begins when we see Mihaya stalking around, and the choice of having these long notes gives the piece tension, as if we the audience don't know where the notes will end, and don't know what Mihaya is up to. The flurry of notes backing the violin further add to that mysterious feeling, being very jumpy, and even the choice of instrumentation adds eeriness. It's a great encapsulation of one's unease around Mihaya. If the image of Mihaya is sketchy, someone up to no good, a prowling ex-noble, then his theme really plays that up. Speaking of mysterious themes, we have Obi. The instruments used here are very specific, with this very strong brushing sound that goes through much of the song. As the orchestra joins, they join in staccato, matching the bass's consonants. And I think that stark difference is what makes Obi's theme less intrusive and tense. We aren't given these long strings where we don't know what's happening. It's more defined and clear. The intentions come across. It's not malicious in the same way. It's more manageable because of how the song completes itself. The image I get of Obi is one of contrast. The things he does, the things he feels are constantly in sway. He's a bit of a mystery and has this dangerous edge, but he's not dangerous. While we don't hear that in his scene, the song even plays that up as we get this short section where the song transforms to something much more noble and majestic. To shift gears, let's talk about Kiharu. Her theme has a very distinct motif, with the woodwind instruments being the most highlighted sound. This goes very well with the concept of her character, as her story revolves around her culture being accepted into the kingdom through a whistle and a blue bird. The woodwind instruments in Oshima's other pieces had a strong naturalistic connotation, and it's no different here. It's mimicking the whistle she uses, and also representing the fact that her arc revolves around these native birds. What I like about how they use this theme is that it plays during her explanation without fail. Despite the harrowing nature and how she's distressed about her situation, the song is playing against that. It feels like a contradiction, but I think it further cements Kiharu's character. Even as she's explaining something so painful, ultimately these aspects, the naturalistic cultural pathos, is strong enough to play over it. It's the image of a person stalwart about who they are, and so the song never falters, showing that she really is here genuinely to try and make a difference for her people. Akagami no Shirayuki-hime is a story I hold very fondly. It's a bright and gentle fantasy world, one where the characters work hard in, where they struggle forward amidst all of the things that threaten to stop them. And it has a wonderful cast of characters to showcase that. And Michiru Oshima was able to get me to feel that world even more closely, to really let me enjoy the story of this Snow White with an orchestra. And that was the end of the video. As you can see, I am transitioning right from the end screen to the actual outro because I thought, it would fit the aesthetic, and I wouldn't have to cut to a black screen so you can watch as I clean up the set here. Oh yeah, and I'm also using a mic attached to my phone camera here. So if it sounds different, it's because I'm trying to be literally as immersive and as clean as I can as I am filming this outro here. I'm also going to show that the book that I've used is the OG Folk and Fairy Tales from Brothers Grimm. Here is the cover that I took out so that, I could have the white surface to use. I know that I've kind of repeated some of the music that I selected for this video, which I thought would fit for the thesis and make for a really interesting look at what I was kind of presenting with Michiru Oshima and the way she composed. I probably won't do that again just because I cover less music overall and that kind of sucks. And of course, before I wrap things up and let you guys off, I do have to give special shoutouts to the Patreon. If you would like to support in a more tangible and physical way, then please do consider looking at that. If not, just watching, subbing, liking, doing all those things that will inevitably help the algorithm is always a great benefit. But otherwise, thank you again for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.